Well, Purdue volleyball currently sits number 10 in the country. Just wrapped up non-conference play over the weekend. 9-2 is their record, undefeated at home. Got a top 10 win under their belt with a takedown of Kentucky a couple weeks back. And the beginning of a massively anticipated Big Ten conference season starts for them Wednesday versus top 5 ranked Penn State. We are lucky enough to have their head coach here for our big interview. It is Purdue's Dave Shondell. And over the weekend, Dave, you had some real challenges, couple of top 10 opponents in Creighton and Kansas. What did you guys learn as a team through those matches?
Mostly the Kansas and Creighton were really good. And on the road, we played at Kansas, and they had a great crowd in their gym. And then Creighton showed up with about 500 people for our match with them, even though it was supposed to be on a neutral floor. It felt like we were playing in Omaha. But two really good teams, and where I felt like we played maybe a B performance against Kansas, I thought we played awfully well against Creighton. They were just better than we were, and both those matches could have gone either way. A lot of 2-point games, and we just couldn't find a way to win them. But we have to serve the ball tougher. We have to find ways to get a little more offense and put some balls away when we need to. But overall, it was nothing that surprised me. We just ran into a couple of pretty good teams.
You mentioned the attendance there. That's where I want to go next. I got to see you a couple weeks back on Tailgate, and we talked on the show about the sport sort of exploding. And you mentioned that there's going to be a couple times this year when you guys are playing in Mackey Arena. Indiana in 3 weeks, Wisconsin the week after that. That's 14,000 fans that are going to be watching the Boilermakers play a live volleyball match on campus. Let me ask you, how did that first come to be? When did those talks first begin?
Well, first it's 14,800.
I shortchanged you.
Yeah, we don't want to lose those 800 people anywhere. But we've played some matches in Mackey before. It's such an unbelievable venue to play in. As you know, Mike, I'm a huge basketball fan. I watch both Katie Gerald's squad and Matt Painter's squad play all the time in Mackey Arena, and it is an electric venue. And so we felt like with the excitement behind our sport right now, with what's happened at some other Big Ten universities, and with the love that our fans have for this particular team at Purdue, I felt like we could get some big crowds. And so I approached our administration probably in the summer and asked them about the opportunity. And there was a lot of conversation, but one of the things that I chuckled about was they said, well, if we don't get 3,500 fans, we can't make any money. And so I said, we'll get 3,500 fans. Okay, that's not going to be an issue. And then just this past week, they announced that it sold out at 14,800. So that's a pretty good thing for our sport, pretty good thing for Purdue volleyball.
It's amazing. I mean, that's basically 7 times the crowd you would normally have for a home match. How will it feel different when you play in there?
Well, I think that it's a bigger venue. We've played at a couple places similar to that this year. Utah, where we played a couple weeks ago, is almost the same type of a venue as Mackey Arena. The sidelines are a little bit different, but I just think that if it's the kind of crowd that I'm used to seeing when I go in there and watch Boiler basketball, then all it's going to do is excite our people. We'll come out ready to play. In the past, we've won probably 90% of our matches that we've played in Mackey Arena, so it's not like we're afraid to go in there and play. What you're watching on the screen right now, obviously, is Holloway Gym. Holds about 2,500 people. We love playing in there, but this was a risk that we were willing to take to help. I think a lot of things. I think it helps recruiting for us, that people can see what kind of crowds we can actually generate at Purdue University. When you play in a smaller venue, you're not going to be ranked in the top 15, even though you sell out match after match after match. But this way they can see, wait a minute, that's the biggest crowd. This will be a record for Big Ten volleyball. Between 2 Big Ten teams, the 14,800 will be a Big Ten record.
Yeah, pretty cool. Between 2 teams in the Big Ten Conference facing each other, there'd never been a crowd that size. And again, that'll happen in just a few weeks in October. That is, of course, going to all be in conference play. You just wrapped up non-conference play with a 9-2 record. Give me a who or a what that has surprised you thus far this season on your team.
Well, I think that we're bringing back 5 starters from a year ago, and I think that they're playing about as expected. I think Raven Colvin has been the one player that has gone to a new level. Raven had 3 different setters her first 3 years. Now, for the first time, she's had the same setter in back-to-back seasons, and that's Taylor Anderson, who has really improved as a sophomore and is carrying herself with so much more calm on the floor and making great decisions. But Raven had a hard time in the past hitting the ball behind the setter. That's that layup approach, going off 1 foot. Not a problem this year. She's crushing the ball in front of the setter, behind the setter, no matter where she is. And she's also one of the top blockers in the country. So that level of play has made a big difference. It's taken some of that burden off of our two left side hitters, Chloe Chacoin and Eva Hudson, who are maybe one of the best combinations on the left side in the entire country. We're getting better offensive output from our other middle, Lourdes Myers, who's 6'3", but plays like she's 6'5". And then a new player that hasn't played a lot for us is Kenna Woolard. Kenna is out of the state of Illinois, played about half the time last year. Now she's been kind of our staple on the right side. She's fast, she's got a great arm, and she's putting balls away for us on the right side.
You bring up Raven Coleman. Of course, her dad, Roosevelt, was an all-time great football player for Purdue and played in the NFL for a while. He also worked with us for a while. So let me ask you, how much of a stage mom is he as a parent?
He's very active, Mike. I think he's committed to not miss a match this year. I mean, he's been we've been on the road for 3 weekends in a row. Went from Salt Lake City to Dallas, Texas, to Lawrence, Kansas, and he was there for every match. And he's vocal. He loves his kid. He loves his Boilermakers. He's been great for Purdue in every facet, okay? Obviously, Miles, his son, is playing for Matt Painter right now. But I love Roosevelt Colvin, okay? The whole family has been great. And he's very, very positive about what's happening with Purdue University.
I know he's a great ambassador for the school. He's also a really fun guy. So I'm gonna tell him you said he's a full 10 on the stage mom scale, and we'll see what his response is to that. Let's get to your match coming up against Penn State. It's going to be such a great matchup. Two top 10 programs facing off each other. Give me your initial thoughts on what you know about Penn State.
Well, Penn State's big and physical. And they've won some big matches this year, especially the one over Louisville at home. They smoked Louisville in 3. And so that got everybody's attention when that happened. But they really have 3 new players on their roster this year that, we're trying to get familiar with. One is a setter, Stark, whose dad played at Ball State. I'm really familiar with his dad. He was a great player for Ball State. The mom played at Texas. She's a really good athlete, was one of the top-ranked setters coming out of in this class out of high school. They've got 2 transfers from Nebraska, a right side player, Juravicius, that's got a great arm, and then Mendelson in the middle, who's about 6'5½". So they got a lot of help, coming in this year after losing some key players from last season. So those people will help them, and they've got 3 fifth-year players. They've got Taylor Trammell, who started her career here, is a tremendous middle blocker, one of the best blockers in America right now. A left side hitter, Murzik, that played at Michigan for 2 years. Great arm, thunders the ball. And then their other player that they have returning, if you give me a second, I'll figure it out, would be the other left side player, Cameron Hanna, who came from Clemson, that hits the ball very, very high, touches almost 11 feet. So very, very athletic, but they're not as much of a veteran team as we were facing last weekend when we faced Kansas and Creighton, who put almost all seniors on the floor. So, they're coming to Holloway Gym. It will be an interesting experience for young players whenever they come and step on the floor on Beeland Court.
We'll be watching Wednesday night, that match on Big Ten Network. When it's happening, tell me something I should be looking for. How will you know if things are going well for your team in that match?
Well, if we can serve them out of system a little bit, and what I'm talking about is, fans often get concerned when you make service errors. But if you serve lollipops over the net, they're going to pass the ball right to the setter. The setter's going to have all of her options, and they're going to run it down your throat. So we have to serve the ball tough, both deep, and maybe mix in some mid-zone short serves against them to take them from where the setter's not making her job really easy and having her choice. We want to make sure they're having to set the ball to certain people so we can get our block set up. So our serving, I think, is going to be a real key in this match. It's something that we've been focused on, we're improving on. But if they're putting every ball right to the setter, it's going to be a tough night for the Boilermakers.
Dave Shondell, head coach of Purdue. Always great talking to you, man. Best of luck in Wednesday's match.
Thanks, Mike. I appreciate you. Boiler up.